I'm Bill Auten of Auten Claims Management.
I'm Chantal Roberts of CMR Consulting, and welcome to the Art of Adjusting podcast.
Today, we're going to talk about life as an insurance adjuster from the perspective of property, auto, liability, or workers' compensation adjusters. Our goal is to bring interesting topics in the world of claims adjusting to people who are working as an adjuster now and to people who are considering a career as a claims adjuster. Hey, Chantal, how are we today?
You know, I'm totally keeping all of that in on the YouTube.
No, you're gonna delete that part out, aren't you?
Man, you're no fun. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very good. And I always talk about the weather. Today's picture perfect day.
Yeah.
But the problem with this office is during the summer, the leaves on the trees come up and the lighting is horrible. It's really dark in here. So I've got to have a supplemental light so everybody can see how beautiful I am today.
You are. And as I mentioned to you before, I said you are looking good. You look like you've been losing weight and everything.
Yeah, it's just because I shaved my beard. So
well, you look good.
Well, thanks. So do you.
Thank you.
All right, two good-looking people ready to talk about insurance claims. And today we're going to talk about the human element in claims adjusting.
Yes.
Now, I didn't know what the heck that meant when I first saw it on the list. So I did a little research and now I think I know what it is.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we're talking, the human aspect of it, the things that can help you as a claims adjuster be a better claims adjuster, help your claims resolve better, help diffuse arguments or whatever. And that's all about empathy, communication, which we talk a lot about. We even talk about ethical conduct a lot. But yeah, that is some of the things that we will be talking about today.
Yeah. So the bottom line is this job is about people. It's done by people, for people, with people. And yes, there's contracts involved and some technicalities, but that stuff's all made up by people too. So you can't, it's not a machine.
No, I would say that that being a claims adjuster and handling claims is a service industry.
Sure. And we have all kinds of processes and things that we build around it, but it's all designed to cater to the human element as best we can.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that. I don't think people and maybe the C-suite or something like that, since I'm throwing stones, realize that that is what the claims department can do for them. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. One of the things that comes up lately is AI, and it seems to be used as a solution for a lot of different things. And I'm a little cautious about that because I think it does take away the human element. It is very human-like sometimes, but it won't have the empathy and it won't have the full ability to communicate with another human being the way we need to.
Yes.
I don't want, if I'm in trouble and I have a claim and I need help, I don't want to be talking to a machine. And people are going to know. I mean, you've seen these AI generated call center type things. Like I find it very hard to believe that that can be done without someone detecting that they're talking to a machine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm open to somebody bringing it to the table here so that I can try it, but I think the human element is complex enough where you need another person who recognizes when someone's going through a bad time and has the human empathy to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking with someone, are we not? I think next in 2 weeks, Luis Diaz is going to be a guest, and I'm super excited about that. He will be talking to us about AI, and Luis, I think you brought him as a guest.
Yeah, I've spent now actual hours talking with him on Zoom calls about just that, how AI can and cannot work within this environment.
Okay, but that's not what we're talking about now.
No.
Today, we are going to be talking about humans. And I think one of the things that computers, which is what AI is, cannot do is that empathy. And one of the first things that we as claims adjusters need to take a step back on, and I know that I have a problem with this as well, is recognizing that this may be our claimants, and that could be the first party claimant or the third party claimant, first time to have a loss. And while we handle these tornado, back in the Midwest, we've been having, even in the South, we've been having a lot of windstorm damages, tornadoes. In fact, there was 22 people killed, a lot of people injured, hundreds, probably millions of dollars in damage and everything. And we have to remember that although we've handled a ton of windstorm claims, that this may be someone's first windstorm claim, and that we need to build that empathy. And what does empathy mean? If you have something, jump in, but I was just going to say, it's saying, hey, I'm your claims adjuster, I'm here for you, I understand you had a loss, can you tell me about it? Because sometimes they just want to talk.
Right. Yeah. 2 ears, one mouth. Remember that rule when you're an adjuster, especially dealing with someone who has gone through something bad. And I have two interesting stories about empathy. One relates to a lawsuit, and this was many years ago. I was maybe 5 or 6 years into the profession here, and there was a lawsuit against a small business, and she was very concerned. This business owner was very worried that this was going to be a problem in her life. And I said, don't worry. Your insurance company has an attorney that's going to be assigned here, and they're going to take care of this for you. We have to ask you a lot of questions, but please don't fret. This happens all the time. And she looked at me, she goes, yeah, but it doesn't happen to me. And that hit me pretty hard. It's like, oh yeah, I see these all the time. She never does. She's never seen her name at the top of a summons and complaint before. Most people haven't.
Which
And
is what we discussed last week or 2
yeah,
weeks ago. So check out last week's podcast.
yeah. So ever since then, I've been mindful of that phrase that I use. Don't worry, this happens all the time. Well, maybe it doesn't for them. So the other story I have relates to a claim of my own. And this is an auto claim, small collision type deal that's happened recently. It's made me very happy. Anyway, my insurer, it's a very large insurer. I won't say who all it is, but the carrier I've not spoken with anybody at the carrier. Like, I put the claim in online. I got emails from their automated system. Eventually I received a call from the collision shop, and the collision shop guy's been great. I took the vehicle over there, and he looked it over, got the estimate to me. All I've been getting from my insurer is automated text messages and emails. I've not talked to an adjuster.
Can we talk about this for just a second? And
Yeah.
then, as all adjusters do, I have stories as well. But I want to point this out to any of our adjusters who happen to be listening. This thing that a lot of major insurers are doing, I happen to be working a case with a major insurer, and while they did pick up the phone and speak with the insured, they also send these emails and these texts, and it's all automatic. And so the insured actually felt like they weren't being spoken to, even though at the beginning they did actually receive a phone call. And I think a lot of times these emails may be going into spam. And as I know we mentioned previously, like if I receive something saying insurer has an update about your claim or whatever, I wouldn't necessarily open that. I would just think, it's nothing or whatever. Pick up the phone, guys, is what I'm saying. That is what empathy is. And that is what communication is. Just the fact that you are ticking off the box and ticking off the Department of Insurance requirements to quote communicate end quote with the insured, letting them know what's going on, is not a text, is not an email. You call, you speak to that person or leave them a message, and then you send the letter or the text or whatever. So anyway, go ahead. That's my pick.
Yeah, well, I'm happen to be in claims, so I'm fairly resilient, and I'm not emotionally attached to my vehicle. It's a tool I use mostly for work. So, but there are people who are attached to that, and people who get very upset when they've got damage to their vehicle. Believe me, I have dealt with them my whole career, and I can't imagine how someone would be handling or dealing with this. Like, it doesn't bother me, but I know that there are people out there that it will. And
It
I don't
bothers
know.
me though. See, it bothers me, and I'm not in your claim.
Right.
It bothers me because I don't know what my adjuster is doing. I feel that my claim is not being handled well or correctly. And I don't think that's necessarily a generational thing. They say X or Y or millennials, or even the Z's, would prefer text or whatever. And I've seen on LinkedIn when you and I have made comments like communicate, pick up the phone, yada yada yada. A lot of the other, like millennials, for example, will say they won't pick up the phone. Like if I call, people won't pick up the phone because they don't know who it is. So I'll send a text and then I'll pick up the phone. I'm like, that's fine. I don't care as long as you are picking up the phone and actually having verbal words, like using your words.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
using your words. I have a problem with that.
Now, I will give them some credit, because it went fast. Like the time between me getting the claim reported and getting the estimate was 48 hours, maybe 24, 48 hours. Now there's currently a delay on parts that won't be available till October, apparently, but that's a collision shop, kind of communication that has nothing to do with the insurer, really. Yet
but
it's oddly quiet from the
but
carrier side.
but in fact, I just wrote an article about this. What happens if you have a rental and it
Well,
only
that's it.
takes,
That's what I told
30
the,
days or whatever, and
yeah,
your adjuster is not calling. Now, again, here's the deal. This is what will lead, adjusters, listen to me, this is what's going to lead to a person getting an attorney and a lawsuit or a public adjuster. They do not know what's going on. They're not
right,
reading your texts. They're not reading your emails. Do you know how
right,
many emails? Think about how many emails you get as an
right.
adjuster. Think about how many emails like you get on your Gmail account or your Hotmail account or whatever account that you use, Yahoo or AOL if you really want to be old. So think about that. And I think, my husband drives me crazy. God love him. He has like a billion things in spam, never looks at it. And I said, how do you know what's coming in? Like, have you gotten anything from the Greater Kansas City Claims Association? Because he's a member. And he's like, I have no idea. I'm like, have you looked in the spam? Because that's where a lot of things are going.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I don't look in spam.
Well, the elder portion of our family, when I look at all of them, if they were in the same position as I am, they would not be, well, they might get the text messages. They do text, but emails, probably not. And what if the vehicle wasn't drivable, like you say?
Right.
Thank goodness mine is drivable, and I'm gonna have to drive around with a big dent in the side of it for a little while. But the it's strange to me, having been in the business for so long, that I didn't even get a call.
Hmm.
Um, Now, there may have been a box I checked at some point that said I'm fine with, because I would do that
Well,
if they had
yes.
if they had offered that, and maybe they did, and I just don't even remember doing it. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but
Great.
yeah.
And I'm not saying, but I don't think one negates the other.
Hmm.
Just because I have checked a box that says, yes, I agree to receive text and email communication, does not negate the fact that my adjuster needs to pick up the phone and call me and at least leave me a message.
Right.
It does not negate that part. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about empathy, because even thinking like, let's talk about millennials, and the Z's, or the Z's,
Gen Z.
who are now in college. So they're in their 20s, and they are buying insurance now or getting off of their parents' insurance and all of that kind of stuff. So they're having accidents.
Yep.
You go ahead and send them a text first saying, I'm getting ready to call you or whatever, and then pick up the phone and explain it. Because to me, again, as we've discussed, every first of the year, you got to explain coverages. How are you explaining coverages? How are
Right.
you can't do that in an email or a text. How are you showing them empathy, that you understand the plight that these people are in?
Right.
And again, I'm going to give you one of my examples, because I said, get two adjusters in any room and we start trading war stories. And this is one that I've mentioned previously, where my husband and I had a sump pump in our basement that stopped. And we came back from dinner and had an inch of water in our basement. And we froze for about 30 seconds. And both of us are adjusters. So we know what to do
Right.
in the event of a water loss. We know what to do. And both of us just froze. And we're like, oh my God, what do I do? Like all of our training for 20 years just evaporated.
Melted. Yep.
Yes. And then it kicked in. And then we started going like, okay, we need to do this. As adjusters, we knew what to do. But in that 30 seconds of panic, we didn't. So as adjusters, think about that 30 seconds of panic. If two people with 20 years experience, so that's 40 years combined experience, just had a brain melt for 30 seconds, what is your insured or your claimant, your third party claimant doing, who has never had a claim? They're lay people, they're
Right.
consumers.
Right.
So think about that. Anyway, that's me on my high horse.
Yeah. Well,
As for empathy.
That's what we have to recognize as adjusters. So I am in a lot of different groups online, populated by adjusters, Facebook, Reddit. There's a bunch of insurance people on Reddit too. And there are some really interesting takes on things when it comes to claims. Some of the positions that carriers take as a general practice are confounding. The one that gets me, I think I saw it on Reddit, where one carrier that was routinely attributing liability to cars that were hit in parking lots while parked. They would blame the parked car for at least 10% of the damage because of the fact that they were parked in the wrong spot or something like that. Something to do with the way they were parked.
Wow.
Contributed to the collision. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the
This is when
details of those, but I'm guessing they're saying, oh, maybe it was sticking out too far from the parking spot or pulled too far into the parking spot, or I don't know. But
this is what gives insurance a bad name.
yeah.
And this is why insurance adjusters need to be heads of insurance companies. Okay, go ahead, continue on.
You're right. In fact, I was listening to one of our older podcasts with Barry Zalma.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about the education of adjusters and how the C-suite is the ones that they don't really know anything about claims, yet they have $5 to $50 million in settlement authority, and they've never handled a claim, and they don't really know what they're talking about when it comes to coverage or settling matters or God forbid empathy.
Well, it's because they're business majors.
Right.
And again, we're going slightly astray, but yeah, it's because they're business majors. And I actually have an appointment with the institutes on Friday, and I plan on talking about that as well to them. As many of you know, because I've mentioned it previously, I facilitate 530, CPCU 530, which is the legal environment of insurance. And so I'm talking to them about that. I'm going to be facilitating it again this summer. So I want to talk to them about, we need to really be focusing on going top down instead of down up. So anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Two metrics I think that should be included in all claims training, not metrics, I'm sorry. Two components of claims training should be communication and empathy.
Mm.
And they shouldn't be made just as a metric, is what I meant to say. That you're imposing time restrictions on the first call from assignment and the second call and so on. Although you probably have to do that just to maintain some consistency and make sure that the people are doing what they need to do. But it's not just about meeting those numbers. You need to explain why you're making those calls within 24 hours or same business day. You're making them to establish trust, and that trust is what you're trying to build with what we call stakeholders across the entire landscape of claims. The policyholder, for us, the client, the claimant, even contractors or collision shops. You need to be able to communicate in a way that establishes trust with them. And you can do that sometimes, maybe you don't make the call within 24 hours. Maybe it's 36 hours that you are eventually able to contact them. That doesn't mean you can't, upload the same amount of empathy and trust in that conversation, even though you didn't meet the metric. So don't focus on those metrics as much as you're focusing on, I guess, complaints to the insurance department and lawsuits against the insurance company and things like that. When it comes to Google reviews and stuff for insurance companies, they're all bad. I mean, you never see a carrier with, all good 5-star reviews. So
yes. Okay. So let's give an example of a successful interaction with a claimant. And I do think that is, like you said, very prompt communication, and prompt would be within 24 to 48 hours, because that's when people really expect, like, I've turned in a claim and I'm waiting for the insurance company. Like, they don't know what to do. And I'll give you another example with the windstorms and the tornadoes that have been going through. The husband has his company has been receiving on average 100 claims per day.
wow.
So and they've got what, like 10 adjusters. Not all of them are going to be able to make 24 to 48 hour contact. So it is all hands on deck, and you make contact and you work until it's all done, kind of deal, which is a whole different kind of podcast. Adjusting is never 40 hours a week. I don't care what they say, because they don't hire enough people. That's going back to the C-suite. Anyway, again, an example of successful interaction with the claimant is, hi, I'm your adjuster. Here's how to reach me. Here's my email address. Here's your claim number. Here is what's going to happen. Do explain what the steps are. And I know we can never say what the times are, but like within 48 hours, I'm going to make an assignment to the shop to contact you for, the estimate. And when I get that back, I'll take a look at it within, like, I don't know, a week, kind of give them a little bit of help there.
Yep.
Because again, they don't know. You do it every day. They do not.
They have questions that they don't even know what they are yet.
Yes.
And I always tell them that, when we hang up here, there's going to be 10 or 15 questions that pop into your head, and you're going to want answers to them. So you can call me back. We have plugged to my website. We have an FAQ for just about every stakeholder along the way. If you're a policyholder, we have a whole set of FAQs for that. Claimants, we have a whole set for that. Attorneys, and it's a good way for people to kind of just learn about the process on their own. But not everybody wants to go to a website to learn that stuff. Sometimes they just want to be told. So
Right. And they
we do
want
that
to
too.
talk to people, and that's part of the empathy. I would also say when you're making that first contact, if you if you do happen to work for one of those big carriers that send a lot of emails and texts, say, hey, be sure to watch your emails and texts because I will send you information that way.
Check your spam.
Yes, check your spam. Okay. Cultural sensitivity. I mean, because not everybody, and this is one of the things that I've been learning as a risk manager or risk management and insurance professor in New York. And of course, remember, I'm from the South, whole different culture up there,
Mhm.
but yet we're all still Americans. So how do you deal with that difference?
Well, I don't feel like there's much difference. I mean, and I don't mean to, you know, I don't mean to say that cultural differences are not important. They are, but in the context of a claim, your race, color, creed doesn't really matter. We have to treat everybody the same.
True.
And that doesn't mean that we discount anybody's culture more than another. Um, but we try and treat everybody as equal as possible. And when I say as possible, I don't even know what that means, but it just
No,
means equal.
yeah, no, I get it. I think we see it, or we saw it quite a bit when I was working in Arkansas, is when we were working some New York City claims. And of course, we speak more slowly in the South. We usually say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am. No. And that's not to say that nobody else does that, like they do it in the Midwest as well, or whatever. But we found that the New York City people thought we were being mouthy. And it was very interesting. And of course, trying not to say it after your mama and your aunts have beaten it into you to say
Right.
it, it
Right.
was really hard. And we found that the New Yorker, or even all of New England, actually, way of speaking very directly, very
Mhm.
quickly, getting right down to the point, was quite jarring to us. And so while that was maybe a cultural difference in the fact that, or maybe a regional difference is better,
Mhm.
we just had to be aware of that they were ready to go, and not to take it personally. um Likewise, having to deal with people who maybe from a different culture, a different country, they may have a different insurance system and they expect things to be done differently. So that's something just to be kept apprised of, and be aware of, like maybe they're getting really angry with you and you have no idea why. Ask them.
Mhm.
Say, oh, okay, I and God knows I've done it before. I've actually done it with the English. I've actually done it with the British. I have said, I I do not know what you don't understand. Please help me. And
Help me to help you.
yes, and you know what? Everybody stopped. And tensions were lessened at that point, because everybody realized that there was a cultural gap at that point. When I said, okay, I don't understand what you don't understand, so please help me. I mean, obviously there's a gap here. And blame yourself. I mean, I know you don't ever want to take fault for it, but I was always told, if there's a miscommunication, it's more than likely the communicator than the communicatee.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
that's
Well,
right or not, I have no idea, but that's
I
what I
think most
was,
times it is right. I think
you know.
most times when someone doesn't understand what I'm trying to communicate to them, I fully blame myself
Mm,
because I've been talking to people long enough that I know that I get into my own ruts. And I use, lingo from the insurance business. Sometimes I talk very fast about an insurance policy and the coverages and all that. And I can see people's,
Eyes glazing over.
dumbfounded look. And, but when it comes to cultural things and different people from different countries, the language barrier can be a real problem.
Mhm.
I am still studying my Spanish and working on that. But one of the problems from a cultural standpoint is when you have folks from a different country where lawsuits, personal injury lawsuits are not a thing,
Yeah.
because it's not a thing in a lot of countries,
Yep.
like it is here. And they're a policyholder and they get a claim against them. They take it very seriously, and it worries them to death
Mhm.
because they're not in their home country to begin with.
Mhm.
Everything is relatively new to them, even if they've been here 10 or 15 years. It's still, this is all kind of different from their upbringing, and showing empathy toward that understanding or misunderstanding of what a claim is, and or lack of understanding, I should say, that's an important part of our job too. And being able to communicate that, especially if there is a language barrier where they speak English, but they're not very fluent. You have to be careful about how you communicate things to them so that they understand it.
Yeah, I know that the bigger carriers, and we used it in Arkansas, there are these national uh, translation companies where you will call in like a 1-800 number, you give them like your pen, like your company's pen, and and you go like, I need a Spanish speaker, I need a Italian speaker, or, whatever. Um, and they find that person for you. And when you get that person, and you're talking to the translator on the phone, the translator, third parties in, the insured, or even the claimant, third party claimant,
Mhm.
the translator will give you their employee number, because you need that as an adjuster for when if it goes to lawsuit. I mean, making sure that you've translated this correctly, or they've translated it correctly, or whatever, they can find that translator again. So
Yeah.
that's it. And if your company doesn't have that, it's something to look up and make sure that and maybe put it forth to your manager and their manager, so that you can get that taken care of, because definitely needs to be done.
Or call us. We work with translator service for our statements when we have,
There you go.
and we have access to people with, I think there's 50 or 60 different languages that we have access to. In most cases, that service isn't necessary if they've got family nearby, because usually they'll have a family member that can translate for you. And
Yeah.
that's usually the best way to do it. Although I shouldn't say the best way, because you may get a skewed kind of translation from to protect their interests. So
Mm.
it's not ideal in all situations, but that is a service that we can provide as well.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that part. I mean, if it's like a fraud or something like that, you do want to get a professional. But anywho,
Yeah.
I, y'all know what we mean.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all been doing this. Yeah, y'all know it. And if you don't, if you're new, and we are going to be talking about like novice, going from novice adjuster to expert adjusters, you know, to stick around for that episode as well. But you'll learn. You'll learn.
Yeah.
Um,
Learning is an ongoing thing. I learn every day. I still learn. And I learn from you. I learn from your books, like Once Upon a Claim, for example.
yes, like Once
And
Upon a Claim, for example.
my
I'm
mother-in-law,
excited.
we're on a trip right now,
Right.
and because today is Thursday,
Uh,
and I've moved my office with us to
yes,
Florida, so
absolutely.
we're
Yeah.
down here in sunny
It's all
Florida.
like green screen,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, we've got the book, and my mother-in-law is going to review it also, so
Oh,
she's
good.
excited about that.
Yeah,
So
let me know what
she's a
y'all.
non-insurance person, so we'll see how it resonates with her.
That is great because that is really who it's for.
Yeah.
Although I've started thinking that I'm going to, I got a friends and family discount for people where they can buy it in bulk and hand it out to clients like agents and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Although insurance companies can do that as well. C-suite
Yeah,
members.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Maybe a company that works in all of the states,
oh yeah, that would be fantastic.
or a more progressive company might consider doing this for their clients as well.
Yes. Or people who want to be good neighbors. I mean, who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Right? Just be a good neighbor and hand this book out to all of your clients so that they can learn about insurance and be nice to your adjusters, because there's emotional resilience for adjusters as well. I mean, who wants to sign up for 8 hours of yelling 5 days a week? And when I say 8 hours of yelling 5 days a week, that's just when the phone is on. Because as I
Right.
said earlier, this is not a 40-hour work week job.
No, the
Uh,
yelling happens by email too, by the
oh
way.
yeah, the yelling happens by email as well, but
In fact, I got some hollering going on right now in my email.
Mhm. So how do you deal with that high stress and emotionally charged situations when, I mean, because I mean,
Broad shoulders.
yeah, well, and you do build up a big thick skin.
You learn that getting emotional back
Mm,
just escalates things.
yes.
So, don't do it. There are people that um, there there's some hotheads out there. Sometimes it's I don't know what it is about the way people are wired. Sometimes I have dealt with folks that you could tell need to be helped with medicine,
Yeah.
because in one conversation they're like on fire
Yes.
and spitting bullets and absolutely just mean and nasty, and then a few days later you talk to them again and they're just calm and peaceful
I've
and
I've done it
lovely.
where it's like 30 seconds,
Mhm.
because look, I have had people who are yelling and using profanity towards me, calling me all sorts of names, and I'm like, thank you, I did try. You are so nice. Oh my god, it's just like, oh, it's like,
Well,
oh.
what fairy tale would that come from?
Yeah, well, that's one of them. But anyway, no, actually, that is in the art of adjusting.
Oh,
The one for adjusters,
for
which
adjusters, yeah.
I'm gonna bring up in just a second. But you know, unless you happen to be, and I'm going to name this insurer USAA, because they do have a rule that you do not hang up on your insurance, which is
Mhm.
like they don't terminate phone calls. You have to hang up. It's a very interesting, there's a whole story, but I'll get off topic. Anyway, you can put down the phone. And I always told my adjusters, if they're using profanity towards you, put down the phone. Just, tell them once, sir or ma'am, you need to speak to me in a more professional tone. Tell them again, you're still not speaking in a professional or business like tone. I'm going to have to terminate this phone call if you don't stop. And then the third time, you're still speaking, I'm going to terminate the phone call. And I've had people, as soon as I terminate the phone call, they will call back, and I'm like, because you see the, you know, caller ID, and they're nice by that point.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
amazingly. So, I mean, it turns on a dime. But um, what you're talking about with the hotheads, and there are methods to do this, and I've talked about it in the art of adjusting, which the Once Upon a Claim book is kind of the consumer version of that, although I don't mention all of this stuff because it is for consumers. But Once Upon a Claim, or excuse me, the art of adjusting is for adjusters.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do mention in the art of adjusting is when you've got those hot heads, of course, you do the 3 times, letting them know that you got to speak to me in a professional manner, and then put down the phone. One of the other things I love to do, and I mean, I just love to do it, is when someone is yelling at me. I'm actually going to do it here. I start talking very softly because people then start talking very softly. And it's true. If you start whispering, it usually decreases someone's level.
Yeah.
But it's hard to remember, guys. It is super hard to remember because your fight or flight also kicks in when someone's yelling at you. I mean, that's only more.
I just calmed down by like 10 or 15%, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, the other one I like to do, and I think it works really, really well. I just shut up. I don't even
Yeah.
give them the verbal feedback because then they actually think you have hung up on them and they will ask you, did you hang up? And I go, no, no, sir, no, ma'am. I am typing what you have said into the computer. I'm typing what you've said into the notes. Please go on. What else? And one of the best pieces of advice that I have read and this is from an attorney on how to diffuse things is whenever you're getting a complaint and the person stops, you go, and what else? And what else? And they'll go off some more. And what else? They'll go off some more. And what else? They'll go off some more. And then probably by the fifth one, you're getting down to the nugget of it,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
That's a great technique. Yeah.
And then what else? And they go, there's nothing else. Okay. I want to read to you back what you've said to me because you're taking notes. Remember, adjusters, you're taking notes. Okay, you feel that I haven't called you back on this. You feel that da 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 da. You feel that blah 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 da 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 blah blah blah. Is this correct? Yes. Okay. I've got answers for those. Are you ready? And they'll either be ready or not, you know, and if they start going off again, and what else?
Mhm.
And look, you know, this phone call could take 30 minutes, it could take an hour, whatever. But I guarantee you it is the best way to help that person. And they're not going to be calling you every 5 minutes. They're not going to be angry with you much more. They're not going to be sending you an email every 5 seconds. You know, trust me on this. Yes, it's an hour out of your day and you've got a lot of other things to do. But devoting that time to that one person, that squeaky wheel, for example, is going to end up saving you a lot of time in the future.
Right. Good advice.
Yeah. What about you?
Make sure you get, let me test my understanding.
Yeah.
So we want to
Yes.
get we want to get all of it out from them.
Yes.
We want to just probe them for all of the things that are bothering them. And then we want to record that in our notes. And then we want to reflect it back to them just to test our understanding and make sure that we understand what their complaints may be.
Yeah, if you think about it from a medical point of view, it's like when you get all of the, to be gross, the pus and everything out of the wound, like you're cleansing the wound.
Cleansing the wound, right.
Right. There are other emotional resilience issues that we've talked about previously for adjusters, you know, the stress that we're under and how to alleviate that stress, like going to your local adjusting associations. But yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you can look at those podcasts too, if you haven't already.
Which podcast?
Our podcast, I don't remember which ones we were talking about. Hold on, I can actually tell you. Treat yourself. It was
Oh,
it was
yes.
February 1st, so it was going to be like the February 15th. It was
Yes.
February 14th. It's supposed to be in time for Valentine's Day. It was like treat yourself. So it would be the February 1st, 2024 one is kind of what we were talking about when we were talking about taking care of yourself as an adjuster. So that can also be the emotional resilience.
I have a blog post on that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's the if you go to aughton.claim/acm-blog, you can search there, and it's 5 stress relievers for claims adjusters, I think is
There you
the
go.
title, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we should put links in the show.
We should.
It's like we're so smart.
I know. We have links. We have actually, if you go to the show description, there's links to your book.
Yeah.
There are links to the anytime there's a relevant blog post that I have, and I should start putting some of your blog posts in there as well. We'll put the links down there so that you can get more information on all this fun stuff.
Absolutely. We've talked a little bit about education, and I do not think that insurers are pushing education like they used to. I don't know what you think about it, but
I think most of the education is on internal policies and procedures, more so than the stuff that we're talking about here today.
yeah,
I could be, I've not taken training from all of the different insurance carriers, so I can't say for sure. But when I deal with other adjusters in my space of third party, injury claims, I'm not feeling like there's a whole lot of love there for anybody involved.
Yeah.
I have certain clients that reflect loads of enthusiasm and empathy for the job, and I love those folks. There are people that I deal with mostly on on a third party basis, where when it comes to talking about their own policyholder
Mhm.
or the claimant, there is more often an assumption that everybody's just trying to screw everybody over, and nobody can be trusted,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're all liars, and
I think that too comes from the top down, but all of this being said, uh,
well, in their defense, the environment breeds that
oh
kind of
yeah,
person anyway. I mean, we do come across a lot of people who lie. And
yes,
the funny thing about liars is I call them lying liars who lie. There are some people that they can't do anything by telling the truth. They're wired to be
yes,
dishonest about something, even when it doesn't even help them.
yes.
They will lie about, the dumbest things.
Right. They're the ones with the chocolate all over their mouths, and they're like, no, I didn't eat
I
any
didn't
candy
do it.
bar. I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. No, but um, Barry Zama, who we just mentioned earlier, he talks about like insurance fraud is the number 2 white collar crime right behind, tax evasion and tax fraud.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, it's prevalent, but on the flip side, our job as an insurance company and as claims adjusters is to pay legitimate claims for the correct amount. So, yes, we become jaded and everything, but I think when I'm talking about the learning, I think the issue is that because it's not pushed anymore by the insurers from top down, like going somewhere else and learning like PLRB, for example, or getting your AIC. I don't think that's pushed a lot anymore.
Right.
Uh, Getting your CPCU, I don't think it's pushed a lot anymore.
The
As
ethics.
Barry was talking about, it means that the adjuster has to do it themselves. They just do the 24 hours plus the 3 in ethics every 2 years, and just go through it, listening to us banter about.
Yeah.
Sometimes, they'll learn something, whatever. I would
I
like
hope
to
so.
think, I would like to think so. But yeah, I mean, like there's my book. It is an evergreen book, The Art of Adjusting, evergreen book. I think there's 2 months in the 3 years that it's been published that nobody bought anything, that I haven't made at least $1 off of it. I mean, I'm not making a ton of money because I usually only make $1 off of it, but um, you know, there you go. But I think that there are
There was
better
a
things that we can do.
there was a LinkedIn post recently on management,
Mm,
and I wish I could find it, but it spoke about when you become a manager, you're kind of put in this position of power, and you have to realize that you're an adult now, and people are looking up to you. And the things that you say can be very impactful on other people,
Yeah.
more so than you probably realize. When you're an underling, you're used to things that you say being taken maybe not so seriously sometimes.
Yeah.
You may not often feel heard.
Yeah.
But when you're a manager, people are looking to you so they can hear you. Everything you say is heard loud and clear. And that can be a problem, because if you're not careful, you can say something that you think is relatively innocuous, but it could be like throwing a boulder at somebody
Yeah.
that they don't expect. The
Right.
same thing happens in claims where, the claimant or the policyholder, they're looking to you as the adjuster, as the authority. You're not managing them or anything, but you're managing their claim, and you're
Right.
kind of got their well-being in your hands.
Yes.
So if you abuse that, or if you don't recognize that and speak inappropriately,
Mm-hmm.
it can have a major impact on the development of the claim.
Absolutely.
Because and once you erode trust, it is much harder to build it back up.
Absolutely.
It's very hard to build trust. You can destroy it like that.
In seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that that's even like an ethical dilemma. But I mean, these continuing education classes that you can take, like PLRB or whatever, or having attorneys come to your office, or having independent appraisers or adjusters come to your office and talk about their particular thing. We did that all the time.
Mhm.
Having attorneys come and talk. We do that at the GKCCA. We have like attorneys come and talk and tell us about the updates in the law, insurance laws, or insurance lawsuits decisions about it, or in Missouri and in the Kansas. That's the state I'm in. In fact, Chip Merlin, if you don't follow him, he's a popular plaintiff attorney. He has an article or a blog post today about Missouri and the oh gosh, I'm drawing blanks on words now. Value policy law. Uh,
Okay. Value
uh,
policy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so it's like these are the kinds of things that you may want to invite attorneys to come talk to your claims department about, or whatever. Um, and if you are a team leader and your department doesn't want to do that, or your company doesn't want to do that, we'll just invite the attorney over just to talk to your 5 adjusters, or take your 5 adjusters out to lunch. I don't know. Anyway, it's harder to do since we're all remote, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just as a kind of an aside for the uninitiated, a value policy law, it just means that when you're in a state that has those types of laws and you have a total loss, you've got to pay the policy limit.
Yeah.
You're required to pay the limit. You can't pay less than the limit, even if the property seems to be less than the value.
Yeah,
of
even
the
if the
limit.
damage is less than the limit. Yeah, you have to pay the policy limit if it's a total loss.
It's a total loss.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So I think we're almost out of time.
I think so.
Actually. Yeah. So let's see here. Be empathetic, pick up the phone, as I always say, and at least tell them to look in their spam. Be aware of differences in upbringing, in regional differences, like I said, cultural differences, because like you said, Bill, it is so important. Um, if someone's not used to being sued, we're used to it. We get named all the time.
Yeah, named all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, what else?
Well, I think that education goes both ways. I think
Yeah.
you should be seeking additional opportunities to become educated,
Yeah.
as well as educate the people you're dealing with,
Absolutely.
because that includes your coworkers or your peers. It also includes the policyholders and claimants that you deal with every day, because this is probably the first time they'll ever have a claim, or they ever had a claim, and they don't really know what the process is, and you
Mhm.
do.
Yep.
So you're in a position to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so good thing. So in 2 weeks, like I said, we are going to be having Luis Diaz. We're
Yes.
super excited about that, to talk about AI in
Yep.
claims.
That's right.
So that'll be fun.
Very good. Well,
Good.
good to see you, and check out your book, Once
Yes.
Upon a Claim.
Once upon a claim.
And yep, buy it. I'll have the link in the show notes.
Awesome.
Check out my website at www.aughton.claims. And then also both of us on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
If you're not connected to us, please connect.
Please connect. I tell you all sorts of fun things. Although Funny Fridays is a very popular time.
Yes, yes.
There you
Look
go.
forward to that tomorrow.
Okay. See you later.
All right, take
Bye.
care. Thanks for joining us on the Art of Adjusting podcast, where we talk about life as an insurance adjuster.
If you enjoyed this podcast or this episode, please give us 5 stars and a review. It does help the algorithm pick us up.
Hit that subscribe button real quick and tell all of your adjuster friends to check this out as well. For independent adjusting services, go to www.aughton.claims. And for anyone interested in working as an independent liability adjuster, go to the Contact Us tab to join our roster.
In the meantime, you can contact me at theartofadjusting.com for consulting and training purposes.